Good afternoon. Welcome to neishloss&fleming's webinar, Break Down Your Commissions. My name is Kate Therrien, and I've been the sales manager for the South region for the last 3 years. Prior to this, I actually ran my own life insurance agency, handling everything from as-earned commissions to chargebacks on downlines. Over the course of my time here at neishloss&fleming, I've noticed many agents, new and experienced alike, actually have a lot of confusion surrounding commissions. So today I will clarify. For the next 15 minutes, I'll be discussing primarily Medicare Advantage commissions. If you have questions about debits, credits, prorating, and true-up payments, this webinar is for you. You can expect real examples and a closer look at how the top national carriers pay their independent agents. So first stop, the agenda. We will start the deep dive into commissions by identifying the maximum street-level commission CMS allows carrier to pay agents, followed by key terms you will see and use when looking at your earnings statements. Next will be the actual statements and how they break down. Lastly, some key points that may affect your income. So first up, what are commissions? Commissions are how carriers pay independent agents. They can actually be broken down into two distinct types, first year and renewal or plan changes. When you obtain a new client, the first year commission will pay in a lump sum from the carrier. This typically takes a few weeks after the approval of the enrollment. The amount you get paid is the carrier renewal rate for the plan in that state. If more is owed due to an initial renewal, you will actually be made whole later. So that's something we'll get into at a later time as well. Renewals for Medicare Advantage will continue to pay for the lifetime the client is in the plan if you meet the carrier requirements. So what does this mean when it comes to your income? When it comes to how much you can earn, it is actually very simple to calculate. Choose the state you wrote the business and multiply by how many clients are in your book or how many sales you've made. Something to keep in mind is that with Medicare Advantage, the initial commission is only paid once for each client when someone is in their initial enrollment period and brand new to Medicare. This is determined by CMS. Anything after that point will be paid at the renewal or plan change rate. Something to note is that if someone is during their IEP2, that will pay at a renewal or plan change because they were previously in a PDP or a Medicare Advantage before. Those are the two things that CMS will be looking at into whether or not they have had a Medicare Advantage plan or a standalone prescription drug plan. So a special note when it comes to determining if a client is new to Medicare or not, CMS actually has 90 days to do that investigating to make that decision. However, it doesn't normally take that long outside of AEP. So let's get into some of these terms that you're going to be seeing in your commission statements and also if you call the carrier with questions and concerns. First off, an override. An override is an administrative payment to uplines for providing services to their agents, such as recruiting, training, sales compliance, and marketing. You will not see any overrides unless you are currently an agency, or if you plan on becoming an agency, we can discuss what those amounts look like. Now, a replacement commission. Replacement commissions are only going to be for Aetna Medicare Advantage. If someone was previously enrolled in a like plan with a different carrier. We'll go over what a like plan is for Aetna briefly later. Now, a bigger term that you're going to see is actually a true-up payment. Every carrier utilizes these in a different way. So what it is after a member is deemed new by CMS, the second half of the commission is paid out to the agent. It's a very simple concept that is very complex when looking at the commission guide. Okay, so a chargeback. That's when an agent commission is taken back from them. Examples would be a member disenrollment, a non-payment of a member premium, or if the agent wasn't properly licensed or certified for the sale. You do have to be ready to sell in order to receive a commission. That is a CMS rule and regulation, so you need to make sure that you are certified for the carrier you're selling if you decide to get paid. So debit balance. That's actually the amount still owed that's being deducted from the agent commission. So if you have a chargeback, you're going to get a debit. Basically, they advanced you money that they're now taking back because you lost the client or they lost the client. Either way, that client is no longer paying the premium. The carrier isn't getting paid, so they're going to take their money back from the agent. Now, commission advancing. This is something that will actually be more prevalent with Medicare supplement commissions. Agents are actually paid for months up front before member premium is paid. So they can vary anywhere from 3 to 18 months. If a member doesn't pay or cancels the plan during those months, the commission will be charged back to the agent and they will have a debit balance. You can see where all these terms are coming together. Okay, and then lastly, the like versus unlike plans. This again is for Medicare Advantage for Aetna, and it refers to when you're going to get the renewal versus an initial rate. So a like plan for Aetna is any Medicare Advantage plan to a PDP or a Section 1876 cost plan, which are slowly going away like we saw in Minnesota. Now, a PDP to a Section 1876 cost plan or an MA PDP plan is also a life plan change, and so forth. These plan changes are prorated to the month in the plan. If a member is still in the first CMS year, it will be an initial amount that's prorated. If not, CMS will actually pay the prorated amount. So that's where you're going to see this come into play. It's not common, but it is something to notate. Now let's take a look at some of these statements. First example is United Healthcare. Well, taking a look at this United Healthcare example, you can see three clear instances of the previous terms we were discussing. One being a plan change. It's also known as a new enrollment at the renewal rate on this guide. The second is a disenrollment and a chargeback. And then third is actually renewal for business placed in a previous year. United Healthcare is one of those carriers out there that utilizes debits while paying true-ups to their agents. This means if one of these new enrollments at a renewal rate were to come back as new to Medicare deemed by CMS, United Healthcare will charge back the first half that's already been paid. Then they're going to pay out the full initial amount on this, most likely the same commission statement. But it might be two different statements because CMS, if you remember, has 90 days to make that decision. Now, something else you might see on the United Healthcare statement is prorating. Prorating will always be the smaller amount than the renewal or the initial commission amount. How this is determined is if a member is enrolled mid-year or not new to MA, commissions will only pay for the remaining calendar year the member is enrolled. So if the first year with that carrier, if it's the first year with that carrier and you as the agent write them, you will actually get your commissions paid in a lump sum from the renewal amount, but it's prorated. So the example here is if you have a client with an SEP, a special enrollment period for dual, you may see an amount of $18.75. If they have a 4/1 effective date, that's going to equal the $180.75. This amount is actually equal to 3/4 or 9 months of the full plan change amount of $241. You just multiply $241 by 0.75, and you get the $180.75. Now, let's take a look at when you're actually going to see that money. Commissions come in at different times for each of the carriers and depending on the type of business you wrote. It's also important to notice CMS true-ups only come in twice a month. This has to do with how often they pull to verify eligibility for the full commission rate. As an independent agent writing year-round, you could actually end up with 11 or 12 statements per month with United Healthcare alone. So organization becomes significant. However, the online portals for the carriers should make this process simpler. And to help you in this, we do have portal walkthroughs on how to find and access your commission statement. So please do not hesitate to call for that information, and then you can always ask for myself or anyone in broker support. We'd be happy to get that to you. So the next example is going to be Aetna. Here with Aetna, you can see the customer name and compensation amounts in the compensation summary. You can see Aetna is less detailed than United Healthcare and more straightforward when it comes to amounts. But when you page down, you can get into further detail in each case as shown here. So you can see how it separates by the individual customer, the plan they're in, and then the type of commission that's being paid out. Now, other than the look of the statement and the compensation summary, Aetna also differs from United Healthcare in how they handle true-up payments. Aetna actually pays out the second half of the initial payment still owed without a chargeback on the statement. So the amounts between the two carriers are the same, but they utilize a different accounting method. What that's going to look like is you get paid the $241 up front, and then when it's deemed new by CMS, you get paid an additional $241 without any debits or chargebacks. They also have a very pared down payment schedule, as you can see here. Aetna actually only has 4 or 5 payments per month compared to United Healthcare's 12. You can actually attribute that to the simplified product offering that Aetna has and how they separate out Medicare supplements with a different contract. So it's a little simpler, and the commission schedule can be found on Producer World or by contacting broker support here at neishloss&fleming. And now let's get into our third example and last example of Medicare Advantage commissions. That would be Humana. So Humana has an extremely nice summary page. For the commission statement, they have 2 key points that I want you to take a look at. First being tax breakdown, and the second is first year versus renewal earnings. So first is the tax portion. That's something that you're going to notice is a little different. For instance, the Hacienda tax and the 480 tax form are actually going to be 0 for the majority of you unless you do business in Puerto Rico. So it's not going to apply, so just ignore those 2 sections and you don't have to worry about that. However, the 1099 portion will be important since this is actually going to determine your taxes at the end of the year. So if you need to make any adjustments or talk to an accountant, that's one of the numbers that they're going to ask. What is your earning? What's your 1099 going to look like? And you actually get an update on every single one of your commission statements. So you have a running total, which is really nice. Now, moving past the summary page of Humana, you're actually going to see more detail. You can see how the comments actually show the $241 with the 0-0 rate listed as the second half of the first-year commission. That's actually how Humana represents the true-up to the full initial sale payment. It's also we're going to see the adjustments. So you can see there that the $241 is actually the Medicare second half of the first-year commission. So CMS said they're brand new to Medicare, and you get paid the full commission rate. Now, lastly, when it comes to Humana, commissions are generated on the 10th and the 25th of each month. If you elect to have your funds deposited electronically, they will be deposited on the 15th and the last day of the month, respectively. If, however, you prefer to get statements, they will be mailed on the 15th or the last day of the month, and you'll receive them about a week later. That's how they do their payments, twice monthly. Again, even more simple than Aetna, which was more simple than United Healthcare. Commission statement information is available online at humana.com. Or, of course, you can call our broker support department here. Now, lastly, let's review some key points regarding commissions. In case you've missed it, CMS has 90 days from the effective date to deem if a member is new or not. This is the biggest concern we seem to get with agents calling in saying that they didn't get paid everything that they were supposed to for someone who is brand new to Medicare. The carrier doesn't know that by just looking at the number. CMS has to tell them. So this is where we're going to see they have 90 days, but it doesn't normally take that long outside of AEP. And then again, United Healthcare is the carrier that will do chargebacks, and then they'll pay the full amount, usually on the same commission statement. And then Aetna just flat out pays the second half of the initial payment billowed without any chargebacks. Humana operates the same way. So you're not going to see a debit for Aetna or Humana, but you will for United Healthcare. Now, something else. If a member is not determined by CMS to be new to Medicare Advantage, no further commission is owed for the first year. So no matter what, if CMS comes back after that 90 days or before the 90 days is over and they say this person already had a PDP or they're not new to Medicare, you're not getting paid any more money. You are stuck with the $241. The carrier has very little room to appeal that. That process is lengthy. Hopefully that never happens. Now, second year Med-Sup commissions actually start after the anniversary date of the enrollment. So if the client is still paying premiums, the agent will be paid a monthly renewal commission. All right. I know we've been talking about Medicare Advantage for the majority of this presentation, but I have to say something about Med-Sup commissions. You're going to get a big lump sum, depending on your advance that you chose for the Medicare supplement, and then after the anniversary date of the enrollment, or at the end of your advancing, you just get paid month to month, as long as your client is still paying their premiums. Now, when that ends is determined on the individual carrier, but in most cases, that will continue for about 6 years. Whereas Medicare Advantage is lifetime. So, back to Medicare Advantage, there is no difference in the dollar amount paid to agents for AEP versus lock-in commission. When you take a look at a full 12 months, they're getting paid the exact same. So it doesn't matter if you write during AEP or during lock-in, you get paid that full amount. Now, last but not least, AEP writing commissions cannot be paid to the agent until after the effective date of January 1st. This was actually changed by CMS in order to ensure every agent was paid for the business on the books after the annual enrollment period, rather than having them suffer constant chargebacks during a busy time of year. Now, what that means is you're going to be writing business with a January 1st effective date from October 15th to December 7th, and you're not going to get paid on that business, and it's not going to show up in your commission statements until after January 1st. So keep that in mind. Pay a special attention to that because I know the holidays are a busy time of year, expensive. You're not going to be getting paid for business you're doing then. So it's important you write during lock-in to continue getting those commissions and to continue getting the renewals because renewals will pay. All right. So now this is a lot of material to digest. So if you have questions, please call neishloss&fleming and ask for myself or someone in our broker support department. We have a team of individuals here to help you make sense of your earnings and stand by you if a commission problem occurs. Ideally, there would be no commission problems. There would be no flaws in the system, but we all know there are. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We want to fight on your behalf and come to a good solution that's beneficial to us all. So thank you again for your time. My name is Therrien, and this was a breakdown on your commissions.